All right, let's do this. We're gonna do a thing for Forsberg's YouTube.
Doing the Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Laguna Seca, dude.
Hanging out.
We're here.
Yeah. We wanted to kind of check in with everybody and see how we're all feeling, and yeah, we got the whole group.
And we just scumbag Blair into
up.
doing
yeah,
it also.
So, yeah, for those that don't know, this is Nate Hamilton.
Cheers.
But no, we got TJ, we got Grant Anderson, and we also got Blair, who is the son of the creator of the Rush cars, right? And also the Rush Stig, the fastest guy here.
I'll try.
By like a long
outed
shot.
you, dude.
Like
134s?
130.
Yeah.
What's the second?
134s?
Who's second in time behind you?
Alex Shang.
What time?
I think he ran a 35.2.
And your fastest?
34.9. No, 34.7.
I was 1/10 of Cheng in quali.
Dude, gnarly.
I was only 6 seconds off them. That's not that bad.
But real quick, we got to break the ice because TJ and Grant just had their first race ever, right? So we did race 1, race 2. How'd you guys feel?
I loved it. I thought it was... So I have this issue, and I have the same issue with drifting where I choke in qualifying. It's just, I'm a choke artist. And then when I get into the race, though, all that fear goes away, and I just focus on racing. And it happens with drifting as well. I'll end up in the back, I'll end up on the podium, right? But I wish that I could figure out how to mentally prepare myself to do better, dude. To do better in qualifying, because I suck at qualifying. So I think
I will relate, right? Like sprinting is hard. Even my data with Blair is like 5th lap best, 6th lap best. Like
Yeah.
I'm not good at just like 2nd lap laying it down.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Switching it on is like the hardest part. And like it is a race. It's a 20-minute race, but it's only a 20-minute race.
It's really
it feels
short.
like it goes like that.
It's actually really quick.
But what seemed to happen today, which I've never done this before, is as soon as I get dogged, where either I get cut off or I get bumped, I like see fire, and then I start driving really well, and I start passing people. I need to figure
You drive
out.
well, or you start over driving?
No, I drive better. Because I'm under driving. That's I think
He's
my
under
issue.
Yeah,
driving,
so he's under
then he
driving.
drives well.
Cause see, like that's like kind of what happened to
You
me.
overdrive.
I overdrive. That's what happened to me in race 1. I qualified 3rd, and then I got to start 2nd because this guy was late, and so I'm starting front row, and I was like, oh shit! Like I'm like starting this race. This is wild. And so get it going, fall in, hustling through, and I'm rolling 2nd with the guy, and keeping up, and everything was going good. And the car does a neutral, a false neutral in 11. 4 guys just boom, like right around me. By the time I get back in gear and get up to speed, by the time I get down to 1, I went from 2nd to either 5th or 6th, can't remember. And for me, like then I was like, start overdriving, start making mistakes.
Dude, false neutral. We gotta yell at the kid who made the car.
Yeah, I think he's over there somewhere. So.
Yeah, TJ. So how'd you feel in your first race?
It was just hard. It was really difficult. Not having any like sim driving experience or iRacing experience, like it's way different setting a fast time. And in practice, we ran a very fast time that I was super stoked with.
You were fast.
Yeah, like I
Nate
put down
was
like
sweating.
a top 6 time at the time, and I had like at least another 2nd to go. Like I made mistakes on that time. Then I went into qualifying and just never had an opportunity. I caught traffic every single time, so I was like super upset. And then first race, I just blew it. Like it's just hard. I just blew it. And then second race, my car broke. But I learned so much, and I learned a lot from these because on the second race, I don't know, I didn't realize you guys were behind us. I didn't realize that you got
Well, we
sent.
started 34th and 35th.
Yeah, so I didn't
yes,
realize
we
that.
started at the back.
Yeah, so I'm coasting, I'm like following pace, and then all of a sudden just, and I'm like, that's fucking Forsberg. What is he doing behind me? And then like 30 seconds later, Nate, and I'm like, what the hell?
Down the corkscrew.
I don't think I got to tell you this. I go into 11, back onto turn 1, which is the front straight, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. I feel someone coming up. I look over, Nate's waving, driving by me.
Scumbag.
He goes like this.
Scumbag.
I did that, Blair.
It was good. It was good. I was stoked.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, literally.
Thankfully, I know the race director, and I would deem that as unsportsmanlike conduct. So
Started at the back.
started at the back.
If we weren't friends, I would have been pissed. But since it was a homie, I was like, fair enough. Dude.
When I saw Chris and Nate go ahead of me, I was very heads up. There was like a group of like, let's call it 5 cars that was like in front of the guy in front of me. Like that was like kind of.
It was me and 4 other cars.
Yeah, and I
Let's be clear.
and
Grant and 4 other guys.
I saw the way they handled the situation, and it completely opened my eyes to like, oh, you just have to be an asshat. Like you're just like.
We should put.
Tone it back one.
Yeah, dude, you guys were. I maybe I'm just too nice.
Victoria, you should put at the bottom of the screen. You should put like a little clip from Chris's camera or something. But basically, like late braking into sections worked really well for us. So we could, be with dudes, brake late, pass them, and that's what we did.
And you hold your line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess like just not having any experience in it. I kept asking. I'm like, when do I pass? When do I not? And then I saw you. I like visually got to see it happen in front of me, and the light just like switched. And I was like, oh, like that's how they're like getting in front of people. And so like I'm very excited for tomorrow. I learned a lot from watching you guys, and I got to pace behind you guys for a bit, which was super cool.
So Blair, how do you feel about 3 to 4 drifters jumping into your series?
4.
Or, sorry,
Who's
4?
the to 4?
I just was counting in my head. I've been drinking. How do you feel about 4 drifters jumping into your series and, I don't know, like starting a little wave of momentum?
Yeah, so y'all have been causing me a lot of lost sleep, the number one. But no, all seriousness, y'all are a headache. I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm kidding. No, it's been awesome. Like seriously.
Not to be serious.
It seeing it all started at Mid Ohio whenever we got you in the car, right? And so, that even the coolest part was seeing Nate get into it and like literally looked like a deer in headlights, right? He like walked up, didn't even know who I was or the team was, or kind of knew the car.
I was at Adam's compound tuning the 86. Doug calls me, hey man, we need you at Mid Ohio. And I'm like, okay, cool, when? Tomorrow. Oh shit. And I went.
Yeah, and it was so cool. He shows up and, firstly, the nicest guy you could ever ask to see in the paddock, but just starts talking away like, hey, what am I going to do? How are we going to do it? How am I going to go fast? 1,000 questions. And the coolest thing was the next day, you showed up like, hey, it's either going to go really well or not well at all. Got in the car and just progressively got faster and faster and faster, right? And by the end of the weekend, you told me, you're like, hey, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And I can't wait to get all my friends to come do it with me. And now we're sitting here.
Yeah, really?
Truthfully, I can attest, and I think everybody sitting here can attest to how much fun it is. Yeah. Oh. It is the gnarliest thing I've ever done.
For those watching, I would say like in drifting, it's rad, but it's so quick, right? There's like 40 seconds in a drift run, where this is like, you get turn 11 like 13 times. Yeah. So you're like, I could better it. There's so much drive time.
And especially when you're in the race, you have it's kind of like tandem. You have that different battle, that different guy that you got to pass.
My favorite thing is when you make a mistake, let's say in turn 11, I'll use it for example, in a minute and 30 seconds, you can fix that mistake. You don't have to wait 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes to fix that mistake. And you might forget about that mistake you made last run, right? So you get to constantly progress and get better and better and better, which I think is so sick.
Yeah, and for the drifters watching, we did practice 1, practice 2, qualifying, race 1, race 2, all today.
All in one day. Yeah, it was insane.
We actually did the first 4 before we even got in a drift car.
Yeah,
That was nuts.
Yeah.
Drift guys are still in bed. We've been through qualifying.
And for drifting, we did 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Whack.
2 10-minute sessions.
Why it was whack, dude.
Come on, Grid Life.
Come on, Grid Life.
How about when we sat on the grid for 30 minutes?
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I think that potentially was a rush problem.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of.
Might have been a guy that hit a guy that hit a guy.
Some guy bumped a guy, and then another guy hit a guy, and then some guy's throttle stuck open.
For those who don't know, Forsberg was a hero, and he podiumed, but then he didn't.
Yeah.
And Blair kicked him back to the
Whoa. All right, I said I know the race director. I'm not the race director.
Wait, is there trophies for podium?
Of tomorrow. Yeah.
Why tomorrow, not today?
Because we do them on the mains.
Dude, they got champagne, legit trophies.
But it's after all 4 races combined, right? That's cool.
So yeah, you should tell them and us because we don't know. How does it work?
How it was, so obviously we have our first 2 practice sessions today, right? We go into qualifying, which sets the grid for race 1.
Yep.
Race 1 doesn't have any podium or awards, but it's a half-point race that sets the grid for race 2. That day, or the second race on Friday, right, what we just did, counts for full points and awards. Okay, tomorrow is a completely brand new day, right?
Wow.
So you get one practice session tomorrow morning. You go into quali, which is the same length as it was today, and you get a heat race, which is half points, and then the final, which is awards and full points. Okay. So even though you may have had a day today, you go start tomorrow, put it top 5, and go.
So race 2 is when it matters.
Race 2 is where it matters, yeah.
So tomorrow you re-qualify. It doesn't matter if you finished first or 33rd like we did. You start fresh tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a full new day. So the nice thing about that is, you know, you have a bad race, you get DQ'd or something like that, your whole weekend's not over,
Sit right here.
Hey, I looked at
Nate.
So, what's a few things that tomorrow you guys would do different from today?
Not hit someone.
So Chris was 100 feet out, dive bombed someone, tapped him.
It was not 100 feet.
Whatever
I wish
happened-
you could see my perspective of you just bullying 5 people, and like within a minute you were gone. And I was like, that.
That's a
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
rad
like, I don't know how to do that yet.
For the guys that tune in the live stream, it's one of the coolest things ever because you see Nate and Greg Kramer's going, or not Nate, you see Chris.
fuck you, Blair.
Greg Kramer's going crazy. He's like, Forsberg's on the charge. He makes the move. He dives in from like 10 feet on a guy. Sweet. Next one is like 15 feet. Makes the dive bomb work. Next one like 100 feet. Just smoke pouring out the back. I'm like, hey, respect.
Oh, rear wheels locked.
Yeah. I think all 4 were locked.
That was what I was
That's our
about,
drift skill.
yeah. If I didn't lock up, I probably wouldn't have hit the guy.
So yeah, what would you do tomorrow different? Like, what do you got? What is the?
I
what is-
want to focus on my qual. I was asking you this. I'm like, how do I get clean air to qualify? Because I feel like if I was to start in top 10, I feel like I'd be able to hold myself rather than trying to claw through. And you know what I mean?
Here's the funny thing, because
Well,
you guys went out, and Blair was like, I'm going to the back. It worked for me before. And then we went out, and we did not have
Not really.
good runs at all.
The first
I didn't get my
couple
good laps until the second half. Like after I could cool down, like everybody kind of spread out. And then me and the chrome blue car.
so for those,
Yeah,
for those
we
watching,
got like a good hustle and some clean air, and that's when we put down our fast
in
laps.
qualifying, it's kind of like strategy as far as when do you go out, how do you not get traffic, and we asked Blair, hey, when are you going out? He was like, dead last, and he's gonna try to let the field go to build a gap and then run out, right?
But the field never went.
Well, that's when me and you just were like, well, let's just do what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we stayed back, and you
Scumbags.
guys left.
Scumbags.
But I didn't know that y'all didn't know. So
We didn't
they
know.
left the paddock,
Yeah, we did.
and you were in New York traffic or whatever.
Dude, it was horrible. I was pissed.
But we also kind of ran into traffic.
Yeah, I think we got kind of fortunate. You know, the back part of the field was some decently quick guys. But, you know, in qualifying, it's all about course management, right? So it's like, okay, maybe I put in 2 flyers and then, I'm up on 2 or 3 guys. And it's like, all right, I need to back off and find space. And what we were just talking about with, you know, the qualifying compared to racing and like how quickly can you turn it on and just go, all right, I've got to go fast. It's kind of what you have to have for quality because you may get 2-3 laps or you're stuck in traffic and you get 1 lap that's clean and you have to take full advantage of it, right? And so that's where, like in our quality session, and you were with us, it was like we had 2 or 3, maybe I think it was 4 guys. We were trying to get by for a couple laps, and finally it was clean air. You could see people in front. It was like, all right, time to go, and put down a flyer. And right at the end of that lap, coming out of the last corner, we're up on him again. It's like, all right, we aced it.
To put it in perspective for those watching, it was literally like TJ in practice 1 and practice 2 was probably 5/10 up off me. But then I was able to get some clean air with them, and I qualified 11th, and you qualified 22. So it's just like traffic held him up the whole time.
And I kept trying to stop and slow down, and like I was giving like football fields, and just like every time.
But we got a 15-minute qual, and we probably did 8-9 laps.
Yeah.
But it feels like 2 minutes. Or
Dude, it goes by
1
so
second.
fast.
It goes by so fast. It's crazy. So at the end of what would you do differently tomorrow besides qualifying? Like,
Go out dead last to qualifying, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
are we
know.
gonna do that tomorrow?
Yeah,
I don't know.
all you guys
Let's
know.
all go together.
And also, drive like Forsberg. Be like, sorry, and I'll just go down the middle.
You have to.
yeah,
And don't quit.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't want to ruin your car, dude.
Send it.
It's okay, there we go. So here's my issue. My issue was I was running a really good pace in race 2, and I got in a tussle. I went wheel to wheel on the left side, which hit me wheel to wheel on the right side. And in my brain, I immediately thought of the team going camber bolts, camber bolts, camber bolts, which you guys don't know, but there's bolts that hold the knuckle to the control arm, or is it?
Yeah, so it's A-arm to the upright.
Okay, the A arm to the upright. And from what I've been taught is that if there's any sort of contact or tussle, they get weakened and they'll potentially shear because it's happened before. So
it's due to spins that those break. Right, so
Spins versus hits?
okay,
Idiot.
contact shouldn't be.
I told him, finish the race.
Idiot.
So
Big
I pulled
idiot.
off. I wanted to make sure the car was okay, which I should have just skid and kept driving because
Appreciate it.
I was in a good position. Well, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I'm just letting you know that. So that boned me for the race though, because I pulled off. They're like, it's okay. So I went out and I completed the race, but I should have just stayed on track. So that was a lack of experience thing. I'm completely hold myself responsible for that. But
You treat it like a drift car. Like,
tried
let me
to
pull
tell-
in, put
I
eyes
tried to
on
tell
it. Like,
Grant.
no, the race is going on.
You gotta finish the race.
I'm just extremely cautious, and that's my biggest downfall. But as soon as I get into a tussle or a hit, not a wheel-to-wheel hit, I get pissed, and then I drive so much better. So if I can figure out how to turn that on before I go out, just punch me in the face, and that'll be great.
All right, so I got another question for you guys, which would be like, when you were rush racing, you would rush race right into a drift session.
Oh, that's a wild part.
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
God. I was going to get out and talk to both of you guys and be like, hey, don't follow me because, like, this isn't, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like,
where I am.
You guys girded up behind me and I was in my drift car and I was like, on comms, I'm like, Dylan, did you guys, like, some shit? Like, this does not feel right. Like,
Right, you're just in the car, it's like this.
steering wheel's all, like, huge. I'm, like, sitting up. I'm like, dude, this car feels like shit. Like, this thing does not feel
Same
right.
car.
It's
you
all
just,
spongy.
you
Dude,
just one
it's
pro-am
so
in that same car.
Dude, it's like, I just was tripping. That was wild. That was so wild to me, going back to back.
That's what a lot of people were asking me is like rush versus drift. It's like so hard to explain. But literally, the steering wheel feels big.
It feels like a
The
NASCAR
car
wheel.
feels
Car
spongy.
you can't steer for shit. Like, I was like, dude, it is, and it feels slow.
I know.
Feels
It's
slow.
the slowest shit ever.
Well, it's also, we were talking about this, like, yes, it's not as fast, but it's also like you're comfortable there, right? So like everything just like, because we were saying how we finished a rush race, we get in the cars, and we like flipped out and did tandem, and we're just like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Lime
dun,
rock.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, and, like, it's just like you're just
It's trippy.
hanging out.
But
It's
hey,
easy, like you're looking around.
Yeah, that's how I was like,
but Chris, do you
You're going to have
think?
70 drift drivers that want to drive Rush now, especially after they watch this.
Do you think like rush racing helped you like with comprehension in FD? Like, do you think like now when you go to FD, you know, because you can breathe through
Yeah.
turns and you're like thinking and
It's such a slower pace. It's so weird.
Comparatively to FD as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting at Lime Rock. Both of you guys, if you guys don't know, these guys took me out on a drift ride along.
did you go?
It was the sickest
Blair,
thing
speak
ever.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, is it not?
No, you're in there.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, went out
He
on
was in the car with me. I think I was chasing you.
Yeah, I was on your door.
it was the sickest thing ever.
I was in front. That's right. You're in back.
So went out with Chris, and afterwards it was really cool to like hear his like feeling about drifting compared to Rush. He asked me, he's like, hey, I have a question for you. When you're driving Rush, like, does it feel like, all right, here's this corner, like we're just slow, like it's a smooth, controlled drive in a sense? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, the weirdest thing is I'm not like that with rush, but with drifting, it's what I've been doing for so long. I'm comfortable. He's like, I go out on a drift session. I'm like, all right, wow, what's up, guys? Wow.
Yeah. First lap out, like brand new track, just
Heater, whole track, no problem.
And that's how
Yep.
I feel driving any sort of road car, right? So like, it's, I guess, the comfort.
There's the apex.
100%.
So you thought drifting felt gnarly?
Yeah.
And we feel like buttery and smooth.
Yeah. Literally just out for a Sunday drive.
It's just so weird to be in a rush car and then jump in a drift car at the same track, and you're like,
That's cool. That part's cool.
Okay, but here's my hot take. On the grid life perspective,
Here we go.
drifting sucks compared to rush. Like, I don't even really, like, the drifting's cool, but like, rush just like dominates.
it's the duration of time in the car.
Dog's grid life.
No, I'm like, I like now, like for every other good life, if I wasn't doing rush, I'd be like, all right,
That's how I
like,
felt. I
what's-
felt like
what's
if we
going
drifted-
on?
Dude, what do we do now?
If
Yeah,
we
like I
drifted
said,
To be
20
fair, I want to rebuttal on grid life side. We had so much driving time at Wisconsin, and it was so much fun.
Wisconsin was an outlier because it was a separate track for
I
that.
agree, but that's a potential for a lot of tracks that
True,
we do.
but
go
I'm just
to.
saying, like, now that I've done a rush event at a Grid Life, I will never really want to be here, like, if I'm not doing. Yeah.
I love Rush.
Same. I felt the same.
Like, and
Yeah, it's not that I
like, I love
don't
Grid
want
Life.
to do drift.
Yeah, it's cool that we can do it.
I want to
here.
do both.
Yeah, it's like I
Yeah.
want to do both.
There's so much more opportunity happening here.
Blair, make more cars.
Blair's like this.
Every sentence, I'm cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
He broke an axle. He broke an engine.
I keep telling
Start
Nate,
to
go
do-
test.
Go break the car.
Hopefully,
Say that again. Say that again.
okay, if more drifters that do grid life start to do Rush, hopefully the schedule will accommodate them
Yeah, that
as
is
a whole, right?
Are you guys like session and then hop straight in?
Yeah.
So they're doing Rush, 145 ends, 145 drifting starts.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to somebody that can change that.
super rough. But, like, you know, you got Hughes walking through here, and you got other people walking through here. Now the question is, how many of them next year are going to try to
the answer.
get a seat?
I'll
to
tell you the
drive?
answer. All of them.
Yeah.
100%.
But we still got to jump back to Grid Life and say, like, thank you to Grid Life for allowing us to run these legendary tracks in drift.
No, for sure.
Because that's rad. Like, it's so cool to drift here, too. It's just drifting is 15-minute session, 15-minute session, and that's it.
Nate, it's 10-minute sessions.
Literally. And actually probably like 9 after all the math, 10. Like, it's
I mean,
trad.
I'll jump in on Grid Life's behalf too. I mean, without Grid Life, we would not be here. Like, I would not be sitting down with all you guys if it wasn't for Grid Life.
It's just hard to have 5 rush moments that are like 20-minute sprints and then have 2 little drift sessions. It just feels...
I mean, we get 2.5 hours of track time for the rush sessions.
Insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like, now that you've come into your Good Life and having that much driving time, and how much more hot
He's
take.
got to be careful out here.
Yeah. I just really.
Blair just took my last beer.
I just-
Are you old enough to drink that?
Yeah, aren't you like 17?
Europe, if I can.
Oh, in Europe.
Don't worry, I'm 22 years old. I have an ID. I'll show you.
Yeah, like all love and respect to Grid Life. Like, we wouldn't be here doing these things without them. It's not a Good Life thing, but it's more like Rush is such a crazy avenue to get into, and now that it's doing it, it's like I don't ever want to be here and not do it. I always want to do both. Yeah. But
Same.
I don't know if they even could add more drifting to the schedule. I don't even know how that
I
would.
mean, that's the
even
tough
operate.
part. I mean, I don't know.
Rush took away drifting.
We also.
Hot take.
No, it's
No, I'm
also
kidding, I'm
dependent
kidding.
on the track, right? I don't think, like a Ginger Man, we get a lot of track time because we can drive so late, right? So Lime Rock and Laguna both have sound ordinances.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's
and
true.
so that's the issue, is that we have, we were off track at 5.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, track closed.
Well, it was really.
Yeah.
You know, it's 6:15.
Yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah, like today, or we talked about it yesterday, the plan was, all right, we're gonna do some driver coaching sessions with all of you guys, stuff like that. And, we'd get out off the track, pop our helmets off, drink some water. I'm running around, next thing you know, the next session's up, right? Because we're condensing that 9 to 5 schedule, whereas like Lime Rock, I think first session was at 8, and people were running to like 6:10, 6:15.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you didn't have those 2-3 hour breaks to like reset, do
track
data.
dependent, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
We were on track twice to 3 times before the drifter showed
It was
up.
definitely, it was 3 times. Yeah, 100%. It was 3 times. We pulled in this morning at 7 a.m. and I go, holy I've never been to a GRIDLIFE this early. I've been to probably 20
We
GRIDLIFEs.
were
and
here
I've
so early
never
that
been-
the coffee shops weren't even open yet.
Yeah.
I've never
We
seen
left
that.
the house at 6:15 this morning.
Yeah, it was rough.
Unbelievable.
Hey, I have a hot take question for Forsberg and Hamilton, but you have to answer honestly.
Oh, here we go.
Fire me up.
Do you enjoy, and I know you're kind of like a halfie on this question because like you're not in it anymore, FD more than competing in rush, asterisk on the rush of like what it could be for more grip driving, like more competitive driving in grid? Like where does that on your
You're saying
scale,
as far as like
where does it weigh? Like, you know, 3-time champion, FD is like your DNA. Then you come and you do this, you're excelling like crazy, you're a kick-ass driver. Where does that like, ooh, I really wanna do grip driving a little bit more, whether it's rush or more grip driving, to the scale of like, I wanna keep driving FD. I'm not saying you're never gonna stop, but like where does that excitement level come from having so much success this early into rush?
I think that I always had a weird interest in grip driving, but I never took the time to put into it, right?
Yeah.
We'd like do like minivan, like rental car challenge, like bull when we had like a little demo track where they're doing, you know, some drift driving in like El Salvador, like, "Ooh, fastest lap in minivan," like, you know, it's like literally as far as I've ever gotten with like time attack. And so rush was kind of like a test, right? Like a personal test to be like, not that like I have to excel to have fun, but it's like, I want to see how I can do and how it can translate. And yeah, like today went pretty freaking great. I mean, like, yeah, had a race incident, had to start in the back of the field, but that was my first, you know, slap on the hand. You know, I've never had to deal with race incidents, you know, like we bump people all the time, and I did that today. And so I went from finishing third to had to start at the back of the field. But
3 to 35.
third to 35, so I had a podium finish, first time ever in a road race car. And so like to me, it's
And
like,
Blair took it away from you.
and Blair took it away. This guy right here, every time.
Not the race director guy.
TJ.
For me, I would say.
So yeah, it's like I think doors, like I don't want to say like doors are opening, but I think it's like, yeah, it's kind of like the results I was hoping for, right? And I wasn't expecting. And like with drift, it's like I put myself at a position where I'm like, I need to be podiuming. You know, I need to get on the box. And if I don't, I'm mad. And here it's like, oh shit, I'm like, I could get on the box. You know, like, wow, like who knows where it could go.
So that was my leadoff question, is like, what does that make Chris, and this is a question for you too, what does that make you think like, oh, I did fairly well, like maybe I jump in a GT4, or like maybe I jump in a Radical, or like an LM, you know what I'm saying?
I've been so stoked on the data. Like for me, it was like drifting is like you can kickflip, I can kickflip, we both land a kickflip. Whose kickflip was better? I feel like that's drifting. Where when I jumped in with Blair and I went rush racing, it's like you get a 134, I'm at a 136. I need to find this time, and that's so addicting. And in drifting, it was so hard for me to find that. Like, oh, you got big angle and on throttle, and like, what is that?
Yeah, I think that was the weirdest thing for me is hearing you guys talk about drifting, and like there's really no like data. There is some data, but it's not like
coming.
a hard drill thing you guys are doing right
It's not
now.
the same.
But the data also doesn't make you win or lose. It just helps
That's
you
very true.
currently.
But the technology's there. Like drifting could have the
100%.
same data, like your entry speed, your angle. your
Doesn't
braking.
Red Bull do that, and they like own the song? This could be some random.
I think Breezy does that.
No, Drift Masters does it, don't they?
No. Red Bull did a competition, where like it's all like computer scored.
That was like proximity sensors. It was solo runs. It wasn't measuring. It had like one box where it could measure your angle, like in like one section for like basically like an initiation. But then everything else was proximity sensors, right? And so it was like a game of pinball more so. Drift Masters is working on data, FD is working on data. There's another organization in Australia working on data, and they're trying to make it like that. And like you're saying, like to the same point, like same for me, like data, it gives me a result. I know if I'm doing better or not. That's what I was telling you, like when we're doing the practice, like I like have the delta on the screen, and I'm like looking at that all the time because I know if I'm like falling off or if I'm like in the groove. And then it's like I need to check myself. Like if I'm not dropping time, it's like I'm over driving the car, I'm cooking the tires, I'm doing something wrong.
But you know, in
so
a drift
I'm,
run,
focused on that, like almost like every like 2 or 3 turns, I'm looking at that number.
But like in a drift run, when you just nail like a solid throttle line, and you're like, I knew I was right on this throttle at that point, but no one sees it.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, obviously you talked about Delta, right? But I've had the sick opportunity of doing data with all you guys for the past couple weeks, and you know, when we do data, we're looking at brake pressures and revs and mile per hour and roll speed and all of that. In drifting, what kind of data would benefit you? Like, are you looking at steering angle?
Wheel speed, angle, steering angle, wheel speed.
I think line.
Lines, Blair. Also,
Line.
lead car, like braking, when do they brake? Does that affect the chase car? Like, there's so much out there that could actually say, oh, dude, he did this, which was weird.
Which screwed
and that
the
did
chase
this
driver.
to you,
Yeah, 100%.
but you don't know.
Yeah.
What was that round in FD where like you touched someone on his door and like a mile later he like cooked it and then they were like that. Like had you had data for that.
I think you're talking about race 1.
Oh, Blair!
But like you know what I mean? Like had you had data like that, that would have been doesn't exist, but like it would be super
Oh,
cool
it
to
happens
be like
all the time. Yeah, people flop. It's annoying.
But honestly, Blair, there's no data in drifting. The judges watch it, and they're like, oh, he had momentum. Oh, this is weird. He bobbled.
Really?
And that's it. And they just call it. They call it off their intuition.
So there's like they don't measure like how close you are with the guy.
They have this device now that measures the G of the car, right? Okay. So they have these light strips up the car. It used to just be a third brake light, but everybody left foot brakes, so that did no good. And then now they have this like G light, where it's like if it's all green, you're on the pedal, you're picking up X amount of G's. It's a formula. They don't tell us the exact numbers. It doesn't really matter. Basically, if you're like floating, it goes, the green goes away. If you're on the brakes, it goes red.
The judges use that.
So basically, if like the lead car like goes red and chase car hits them in a spot of the track where they're not supposed to be on the brakes, that's the main reason.
Sometimes it breaks. It's always red the whole run.
Yeah. So, and the problem is that, they're not being very strict about the the setup of the cars. And so, like you said, like some cars they work, some cars they don't.
Sounds like I need to start a data company for drifting.
I was gonna say, so how would
Shout out
you...
Torque Hub.
Yeah. Well, Torque Hub's doing the work, but they're not getting as much support as they need.
What would you do
So-
to create, like, not saying like, Chris, you need to be able to come up with all this technology, but like, what things could you physically add to FD that would give you the data that doesn't really leave it too much to judges' hands?
That's the point, though, because the original Formula Drift was 3 judges, line, angle, style. So now if you delete the judges, we go to data, they won't do that because that was the original drifting.
But what does that matter?
But see, what I think it would be is you have data as 1 judge, and you have 2 human. So you can still outweigh the data if they wanted to, right? But then
Shout out to Matt Field!
Uh-oh!
Come on, Matt!
There's pit box. We're going on a trip. To the top.
To the top!
There's miles of trails. Miles. You guys got pit bikes?
Take the golf carts.
Leaving right now, though.
No
Love
pit
you, Matt.
bikes.
You guys all have electric scooters, huh?
Save it up. You gotta love Matt Field, dude. Just marching in.
hey, you guys got dirt bike? You guys got sleeves on?
Victoria, please tell me you got that.
Yeah. I love that guy.
We're just talking about like data versus judging. You can't.
Yeah, so I was gonna say it's like I understand like what TJ you're saying, like if you went on a full data judging system, like the scoring and like who's chosen to win probably would be more like to how it actually was on track, the winner would deserve the win, right? But like if you guys ever watch like UFC or anything like that, right? If they did it all on who had the most significant strikes and all that, right? You would watch the fight and be like, all right, this guy won, and then they raise the other dude's hand. You're like, how does that make sense, right? I feel like any sport that's you're competing one-on-one with somebody, it has to have some sort of the eye test to it, right?
Yep.
Like, and I don't like, I do not come from a drift world, right? So I don't know how the judges do it or been the one to see like, all right, that's what a winning guy looks like. But I take that back. I wrote it wrong with Chris, so I know what a winning guy looks like. But, is there a way to incorporate data in with the judges to help them score?
I like Chris's 1 to 3. That'd be sick, right? Yeah. 1 is data, 2 is real humans.
Or a potential of when it happens, because there's split decisions all the time, the data is brought in to help that split decision.
I mean, that'd be sick.
Be solidified.
Why have they not done that?
They kind of do that for appeals. So like they'll pull data and they can kind of look at it a little bit more.
Appeals anymore, though?
Well, they don't do protests, they do appeals.
So that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Your race at, what was it, Seattle, that was a big thing, right? Like they didn't look at any sort of data and be like, all right, you're right.
They just stuck to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, and like I've driven in series that is 100% data driven, and so they'll have a box they put in the car, measures your rate to angle, your speed, and everything else, but it just makes for very awkward driving because the line gets thrown away because they didn't have the data to be able to hold the line. So you just have these guys just like driving mid-track, just kind of snapping the car sideways.
That's driving at that point. Like, how can I get the best stats to show the judges? Which definitely does it take away from like the what drifting should be in a sense.
Yeah, you have guys that are like straightening out and understeering, and like they're still getting a high score.
Yeah.
So that's why it sucks. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Hey, Chris. Yeah. Question on the table. Is Forsberg going to go to Drift Masters? If so, why not? If you were going to go, how would you hypothetically think you would do? No bull.
I think like those guys are badasses. Right?
He's not answering the first question, just so you know.
Yeah. I would. I've been asked like a couple times, like, oh, you should go Drift Masters, and like I don't think that I could bring enough of a program to run well there, because like all my support's U.S. based, so I'd have to find the ability to like fund going to Europe, having the guys go to Europe, having the spare parts and all of that to be able to do well, and then on top of that, I think I could do pretty well. I like the way that they drive. However, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I'm going to go there and box every event, right? I do think I could, land on the box in
100%.
Within a season. I think I could get one. Yeah.
I would love to see it. Okay, hot take for you two. How long until you think we see more FD drivers go over to Drift Masters? LZ is an outlier. He's just got LZ money to fund it. But exclude LZ. You got a few guys, Shanahan, Dean.
No, but they're going from Drift Masters.
Yeah, but they're playing in both fields. But more so, okay, yeah, sure.
I don't think that many. I don't think that many U.S. dudes will go there.
Like, why doesn't, and I know you can't speak for other people, but like, I think I said it might just all come down to funding, and you can just say that, but like.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Fields, Odie, all these guys who, like yourself, that are consistently at the top, doing it year after year after year after year after year. And then you have this other series that's like, has a sense of viewership that definitely everyone sponsors would definitely enjoy.
Oh yeah. It's a good question to ask.
And some will say Drift Masters drivers are more talented in some areas. Some will say it's a different style of driving. But I know as a fan of FD, there's like a handful of FD drivers that I would love to see go like neck to neck with Drift Masters.
I'd love to do it.
And Adam getting a podium at Poland was like pretty big.
Shows
that like, okay, now let's say we put Forsberg there. Let's say we put, you know what I mean?
I know. I mean, look at it. You got like, Shanahan and James, like, arguably like some of the best drivers. Like they're doing both, and you see how they're doing on both sides. James is on a heater.
James is on a
for
heater
sure.
right now.
But yeah, I mean, we can definitely hold our own over there. You know, they're not exactly on a league of their own, but they're.
I think they should do it. If anyone wants to team up with Forsberg to send them the Drift Masters.
Send them overseas.
Does Hunt & Co. want to do a European division?
Shit.
Maybe.
You know what? Maybe.
Sunoco.
Ex-Valvoline.
We're a big family.
List every partner ever.
Rush sponsors us somehow.
Yeah, Blair. Come on, Blair.
We run your wing? We can run your wing! Yeah, dude.
Here's a super hot take
Dude,
that I
you
did.
and
I
these
think
hot
about.
This is like 4 of them.
Full.
Yeah.
I'm full of them.
Hot takes with TJ Hunt.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why has, and like little like pieces for you, and I think like Forsberg could into this too. Maybe you've heard of this before, maybe not. Why has no one made a low, I don't want to say low budget, a sub 50 grand out of the box factory like drift car? Like, why is there no company? Maybe you'll be like, there's just not enough people, but I kind of call bull. I feel like there is. Why has no one been like, I'm going to buy 30 370Zs, FRSs.
Yeah,
I'm going to put the same thing in every single car.
I feel like the
and
nature.
make a turnkey business. And I guess like HUK is like kind of that, but not.
They're doing it on the pro level. Like
On like a pro-am level, max. Why does that not exist?
I don't know. I'd love to do it. Like we talked about doing it. I've been like wanting to do like a SoCal compound, and obviously it would be like Z-based, you know, just like a bunch of cheap cars. But yeah, to have like turnover, like
I think they'd sell like crazy.
I think the biggest thing, and you know, especially in my business, was, you know, with drifting, there's been so much R&D and engineering in every single part of the car, right? And like, there's certain people that have figured out, you know, certain part of the car better than others, right? And there's so much money and R&D put into it. And so, you know, back to, you know, how we did Rush was, if I went, you know, bought off the shelf parts, you know, I can't mention names, but the car would be $85,000, $90,000. What there isn't in drifting is someone going, all right, we're gonna buy these cars and we're gonna kind of bring like modern manufacturing to drifting, which is what we did with Rush. Was, okay, here's a set of shocks I can buy for $3 grand. Let's build our own. So my margins on my stuff are great because I'm designing, manufacturing, and building every single part of the car.
He feeds us well.
I do feed you well. But, you know, and then I sell that part for half the price of what the name brand is in a sense, right? So I think that's the biggest thing, is a financial thing.
I was thinking to myself, like, in drifting, your like style is what you choose. So everyone's still trying to build their own car, to have their own style, to mix up the thing. So if there was just like factory A, B, C, D to choose from, it'd be like different.
The only way it would work is if there was a spec series for drifting.
But there isn't, and that's what I'm saying.
There should be 100%.
Do you remember LZ had that idea that he never followed through with? Shout out LZ.
Even LZ, we did a E36. It had to be an M50 or an M52. It could,
Is that compound thing?
Yeah. It could not have it could not have any other tune but Jordan's tune. It could not have an M50 manifold on an M52. Like, they were identical, and we did 7 days of nonstop drifting. And it was the most fun I've ever had.
No, but do you remember when LZ was like, I'm putting together this big thing in Texas where it's just 350 and 370Zs only, and it, like, you had to be like, you know, that I think is very cool. And I was stoked for that, and then it just fell through.
Yeah.
But like doing like
that's like what I want to do, but like I just haven't found like
spec drifting be lame?
No,
in your opinion?
no.
Good point.
What?
Shout out Rush.
TJ, what you're kind of describing. Appreciate it, brother. So in Mexico, there's a series. I think it's like Copa America or something like that, and they literally, it's all the same frame. Certain people don't like the look of a Volkswagen, so they have all these body styles you can have to the car. It's all the same frame, all the same running components, all of that. The engines are the exact same. The cars are like 28 grand. and you brand new. You buy the car, you choose what body.
Fred! Damn!
You're allowed to.
Yeah, Fred. Cheers. Cheers. Good.
It's all good, dude. How are you, man? Nice to see you.
I'm good.
Fred from Sunoco brings all these people together. Shout out Fred from Sunoco. Shout out Fred.
We love Sunoco. We love Sunoco.
Shout
We
out
love
Fred. Sunoco
Shout out
Fuel.
Fred from Sunoco. Shout out.
I thought you weren't coming.
You were racing this weekend.
I got my dates wrong. I'm going to SCCA runoffs next week.
Dude. Shout out to Fred. So Fred is helping us all survive.
We love Sunoco. Thank you,
Without
Fred.
Fred, we would not be here. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
All right, Fred's here. We got to wrap this thing up, dude. Plus food.
Yeah, we gotta eat.
Anything else we should say? Like, what? How do we end this thing?
Spec series, more drifting and rush, drifters in rush cars. We need to do all of that.
I like putting
Oh.
Chris on the spot with questions about FD.
That's fun, dude.
I'm a
Fire me up.
Okay, you want to keep them going?
Dude, let it rip.
Who do you hate the most in FD driving
Oh,
against? No, like.
and guys,
like-
that's gonna be the end of
no,
today's
like-
episode. Thank you
like-
so much for
like,
watching.
Who's that one person? And you're like, oh, like we have him. In
No,
top
you
six.
should say who's his biggest battle.
Yeah, that was a different type of question. Like, who do you hate the most? Like, do we include staff? Team members?
I spot for Forsberg, and he would line up with somebody, and we're like, okay, and he's like,
Give me names.
Dude,
Oh,
TJ.
they want
It's
they
just-
want the info. I'm getting
it's
it.
just certain.
tight. He's
Okay, let's
giving
just
you the
say,
tight
let's
You're
just say,
welcome.
I want to hear his answer.
let's just say if you haven't like consecutively ran laps, right? So if like, because in FD you get like 8 runs. Blair, if you don't even know, they get like 6, 7, 8 runs in a whole day. So if you line up with a guy that you may chase, and you're like worried about getting a good chase, we like whatever you want to say, like maybe there's some strategy to get a good chase. And this dude will never back down. He's like, I'll chase him. And we're like, Chris.
Wait, even if he like doesn't have solid practice.
He would probably
That's
never
it.
made a
He'll
lap.
be
He
like,
probably-
this guy hasn't come off the trailer
He's
yet.
never made a lap
Why?
yet.
Why?
No, like if a car's, oh, why do I not back down?
Yeah.
Because there's so little practice, and I think it's a move to not chase someone.
Everyone is like,
Even if you don't think you're gonna get.
Even
good
if it's
lap.
their first lap.
I
Chase
try
him.
to talk him out of like, hey man, he hasn't like linked it yet. He's like, I'm chasing him. So
Clip it. Fuck 'em. That I love that.
Let me ask this, and like TJ, you said, who do you hate most? But like,
Well, because bad practice is still good practice.
and that's a cool perspective. But like dudes are like,
Yeah, you don't want to chase like a perfect lap every time. Like chasing like Ryan Turk 8 laps in a row is not going to be great practice.
I understand. Yeah.
You know.
but it's like if a dude is leading and he hasn't linked the whole track yet, Chris is like, I'm in.
so did you like from my racing career? You know, we would race kind of the same guys in the national series, right? And there were certain times I'd line up like P2, P3. I'm looking to my side, and I had one guy. His name was Danny Formal, and I would look over, and I'd be like, I would look at Danny. I'm like, shit. Danny's next to me, right? Like, and it wasn't like I was scared of him, but every time I raced Danny, it was it was gonna be a run. Do you have somebody in the FD like you line up next to him, and you're like, all right, I've got to send this.
Me and Chelsea were always just like it would just get kind of weird. But no, he's an absolute ripper of a driver. Now, like Osbo, he's a freaking tough one to beat. We were like kind of neck and neck. I think he's edging me out in overall wins now.
But where's Osmo in points right now?
Third.
Oh, he's third.
Third in points, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's not really anyone that I just like hate to line up with now.
Yeah.
I think I was like frustrated with lining up with Chelsea for a few years because of that one incident,
Yeah.
and it like created so much drama. I'm like, oh my god, like just let it be a clean pair of runs, you know? Like,
Denolfo would hit you like every time. For Blair's notes.
yeah, and that's fine. You know, yeah, elbows out.
It's Forsberg and Rush.
Okay, remember I told you I need to focus on me just getting in the zone? I'm going to pull onto track tomorrow, and I'm going to go elbows out, and then I'm going to be good. I'm gonna be good. And TJ's gonna lose to me again.
That tattered in Fields trailer later today. Elbows,
out. We should.
I'm gonna get it under the corkscrew.
No, you know
elbows
what we need
out.
to do? Just get out tattooed on our
Ooh,
elbows.
that'd be sick.
That's our Laguna tat.
I got this last year, the corkscrew, after we drove it.
And now we just get out tattoo. O-U-T.
There's a
tattooed
handful
on
of
our
us that
elbows.
got this last year.
Wow. I was gonna say I want to figure out what I gotta get.
The corkscrew. Get the corkscrew.
Yeah, I'm down.
Wait, hold on. I probably have more spicy FD questions.
I was about to go to dinner, dude.
All right, Nate.
All right, who's
All right, one more from TJ, and we'll close it out.
Nate.
Say the spicy for next round.
Yeah, there we go.
Good close out. No, hit him with one more.
Nah.
You got it. Your intuition's on.
I was
one.
trying to think of one. I didn't
No,
have one.
he's just shit talking.
No, I'm a huge fan of FD.
We'll see you guys at Drift Masters, funded by Hunt & Co. New Z Parts Manufacturing Company. Coming out of Forsberg Racing, sponsored by Hunt & Co.
Go buy merch on forsbergracing.com. Help us get to everywhere we need to go. Bye, guys. Later. Cheers. That was great.